Alright, now I'm back with the final video about the 2013 NFL Draft I'm going to put up here. Seeing as it's old, people probably not going to be that interested in it anyway, especially if your team is not one of the 4 teams here I'm giving big ups to. Well, 3 teams really, because this is the bonus video with the 4th team I'm going to discuss. It's going to be about the Atlanta Falcons, their 2013 NFL Draft, which was not that good. This draft was not as deep as the following 2014 in my opinion. But just to get to it, with the first pick the Falcons took, Desmond Trufant. I'll be honest, he was on my board. I had him maybe in the top 10, somewhere around the top 10, top 15, but I was kind of irked. Like, okay, he came from a very school in Washington. I think he was related to Desmond Trufant, and I think Isaiah Trufant, and you know, he didn't have, bad size. He wasn't like 5'8" or 5'9" or anything like that, and it wasn't like he didn't have playing time there. We saw what he had, but he just wasn't top 2-3 guys. I think Justin Gilbert didn't come out that year, so I was bummed about that. But there was still other guys that were coming out that we could have picked. That being said, he looked good last year, a little bit better than some people's eyes than other guys who were big deals like Xavier Rhodes. But I mean, we still could have got him first and got other people after, but here's where it really goes downhill. Next pick the Falcons went with was another cornerback, Robert Alford, out of Southeastern Louisiana. There we go. Yeah, small school. Not hating on that. I'm a fan of that too, when it's done right. But we haven't seen too much. I think he showed up in the first game. I remember seeing some highlights. Kind of snagged the interception on the reception from Drew Brees, I think, to Marcus Colston in week 1. They ended up falling to the Saints in that game, late, as usual. But we'll see how he pans out. That being said, their next pick was, if I'm not mistaken, it was Malachi Goodman with their 3rd pick out of Clemson. Big school, good program, but he wasn't even like my top 10 outside rushing guys. I don't know, linebacker, defensive end. I don't know what they're going to find from him. I don't know what he did last year, if anything. Nobody did much of anything for the Falcons in 2013, but time will tell. They followed up that with their 4th pick, Levine Toilolo. I don't know if they consulted Tony Gonzalez. I don't know if they do that in the NFL, at least with the best player ever at that position. When he happens to be on your team, perhaps in his final year, hey, what's your input? You think you can teach this guy some things? A little bit taller, maybe not be as fast as you were in your prime, But I didn't like the pick. Like I said before in my other video, I liked Zach Ertz. I like Kobe Fleener, but a lot of people had Kobe Fleener going to the Falcons, which I wasn't even a big fan of that. I thought that there wasn't even really any tight ends other than Eifert that were going from Notre Dame that were going in the draft that I would have been excited to drop to our pick, whether it be in the first round, second round. He ended up going to the Bengals, of course. But who knows? Maybe Toilolo proved me wrong. A couple touchdowns, I think, this year. He caught a few, and we'll see. That being said, with our next pick, the Falcons select with their 5th pick, Stanley Bapunga. Comes from a really good program, I think, in my opinion, an underrated program, TCU. They always give everybody a good game, especially in the bowl games there, and even if win, lose, or draw. But just not 5th round caliber for me. Maybe 7th round value. Maybe wait, see if he even gets drafted. Come in as a UFA, but he doesn't go undrafted. He gets picked 5th by the Falcons there. Then they go 6th. It looks like Kamal Ishmael at UCF, Central Florida. I'll be honest, the name didn't ring a bell at the time. I haven't done too much research on him. Apparently, he's not a very small school, but he just wasn't even in the top 10 safeties. I think last year I did just 10 strong, 10 free safeties, and he wasn't, I don't think, either one on my board. Like I said, I was just doing makeshift stuff on my phone only, nothing advanced on my computer or any other devices or, notebooks, hard copy, just on my phone. But maybe he deserves to be there. Time will tell. Safeties usually take a couple years to go in. They ain't going to just throw them in there in such a vital spot of the defense. Next, coming down towards the end, winding down, they had Zeke Mata out of Notre Dame. Big program, story school, but still not even what I was looking for at that point. I mean, we just drafted a safety, so we picked 2 corners back-to-back, 2 safeties back-to-back. I know they had plans to let Thomas DeCoud go. Apparently, he went to Carolina in the offseason. He went to the Panthers, but they let the bigger, stronger, maybe faster guy go to Carolina, who's a little bit healthier. Who has more physical ability and upside still at this point in his career. Now that he's a little bit more healthier, but he still has injury issues. Lots of range out there. He really truly is, like I say, a center, just a safety as a center fielder. But we just got to pray he holds up, because we have no depth in safety other than that. We don't have James Sanders now. We don't have Thomas DeCoud. And, of course, all the other guys are gone that we started out in this regime with the Mike Smith, Matt Ryan era. And to finish out this draft for the Mike Smith era, we have quarterback Sean Renfree out of Duke. Not a bad school. Come along, as you can see this past year in the ACC, as far as being able to compete with the other teams like Florida State, at least for a measure of time. But not where they need depth at. Matt Ryan's missed, I think, 2 games, a partial part of another game, so not even 3 full games in 6 years of playing football. As many hits as he's taken this past year, especially. He missed a couple games in 2009, kind of an off, sophomore slump. But as skinny as he is, they say he's a pretty tough dude. And he's a pretty tough dude. He has a decent arm for being a skinny dude, and maybe he needs to hit the leg press or something. I don't know. Do some, oblique work to get that real whip on the ball. But he's got a pretty good arm for a skinny guy. Probably like I said, I've told many people, my second favorite quarterback behind Aaron Rodgers, because there's no holes in his game at all. He's 6'2", but he plays like he's 6'5". Cam Newton running around with the ball. Not as fast maybe, but you get the idea. He has everything between the ears, as I believe Matt Ryan does. But with all the talent they have in the passing game, they can't be stingy with the offensive line. They gotta get better guys to protect him. They don't really do it there by getting another quarterback. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, they can do what they did this past year and get T.J. Yates, which was a steal, really. And then I think they let him go or something. But either way, they don't need... I would even take Sean Renfree if he worked for free, to be honest. I mean, I don't know. That team is more known for the defense, if I'm not mistaken, this past year than the offense. So maybe the offense was good in 2013. That being said, these are players, bonus inside the bonus, that I would have taken looking back in retrospect, being privileged to the results, hindsight being 2020. These are players that, to me that dropped off, and then I'm going to give the top 3 players that were given as steals before the draft, or top players. Again, Tyrann Mathieu from LSU, cornerback, there, a bit undersized. He fell to the 3rd round though, because the weed thing, he popped on a drug test. He has some inconsistencies off the field. But he did quite fine so far for the limited time he saw, the field in Arizona until he got hurt. I'd have taken him over Trufant and Alford. 3rd round, another player that fell all the way to the 3rd round. Demontre Moore, would have taken him. Now the Giants have to plug another guy in there. Let's keep the carousel going. Oh, Michael Strahan goes out, you got Justin Tuck. Oh, Osi Umenyiora goes out, we got Demontre Moore. So, yeah, that's how things went for them there. They also got another player they could have taken at some point, even after Trufant and Alford were picked. Jesse Williams, defensive tackle at Alabama, fell all the way to the 5th round. 3 different schools, 3 different top players at their position. So far, Tyrann Mathieu, LSU quarterback. Texas A&M outside linebacker Demontre Moore. Big part of that defense, giving Alabama their one loss that year that they, made short work of the Notre Dame Irish in the national championship. And then Jesse Williams from that same Alabama team that year. After that, they had another 5th rounder they could have had. Tanner Hawkinson, offensive lineman, tackle. Maybe they can move him to guard, maybe right tackle, for the departing Tyson Cable that they didn't want to pay at that point in his career. Did okay in Miami so far. He's done all right for himself there. Did like Tanner Hawkinson, maybe because he's from a small school, maybe they wanted somebody that could plug and play. But with the injuries he had this past couple years, and the lack of consistency on the offensive line, it wouldn't have hurt to go offensive line to draft the last couple years, more than they have. And then, of course, another 5th rounder, I want to say. Brandon Jenkins, defensive end, 6'2", I want to say. They put him at outside linebacker, I think left outside linebacker in Washington to give him some depth there, bring him along slowly. Because they got a Rakpo. Is it Kerrigan? I think they have pretty good outside rushing in. They drafted someone else this year too, so the Redskins know what they're doing. They're going for depth even where they're strong at. So the Falcons decided not to get crazy with picking Florida State that year when they weren't that great. They were good. They were competitive with Florida and other teams they had good games with, but they still will come along. Jameis Winston, of course, wasn't on the field yet, so I guess that was the difference. Still, I would have liked to have had Brendan Jacobs, see what he could do just as a, hand-to-the-ground guy, but they decided not to go that route. Another player, 4 players so far. This is the 4th player out the 5th round we could have gotten. Ricky Wagner, offensive tackle, maybe right guard, out of Wisconsin. Ended up going to the Ravens. We didn't take advantage of him. Being there in the 5th round, he fell all the way down there. But I guess right tackles aren't that coveted. Even from a big school that's known for button out linemen like Wisconsin and Stanford. Decided to pass on him apparently. That being said, those are 6 players we could have taken. After that drops off, you could have still had, I think, Zeke Mata and Sean Renfree, to your heart's desire. But those 6 players that we didn't take one of those players. It reminds me of another draft I paid heavy attention to back in 2009. No, excuse me, 2010. 2010 could have had, I think it was in the first round, could have had Carlos Dunlap, defensive end, beast from Cincinnati, playing for the Bengals still. And then, of course, instead of that kid from Florida, they didn't want to go with the USC safety, which hasn't quite panned out. That's played for the Niners and I think the Bengals as well. So they didn't go Carlos Dunlap, Taylor Mays, and I'll be honest with you, I'll lean on the side of the trenches. I probably would have wanted to go with Carlos Dunlap. I think that's 2010. I think that's when we picked up Sean Witherspoon. So he's been good, a little bit healthier now last couple years as he was when he first started. But that's just over 6 foot, outside linebacker in a 4-3 defense, which is slowly but surely apparently getting phased out to some degree in the NFL these days, this modern era. Could have benefited from having Carlos Dunlap, a guy with size, speed, and ability that was beyond a shadow of a doubt exhibited in Florida. But we passed on him, passed on all the players that I just mentioned as well. That would have easily been available even after our first overall pick. That being said, feel free to leave comments. Say, if you're a Falcons fan or not, if you think this was accurate or not. My next video is going to be a lot more detailed. Exactly, what exact pick overall, 54th pick, 92nd pick overall, and what player was available after them that the Falcons could have picked up. Before I go through there, I'm going to go through a whole bunch of teams. It was a huge draft.